Right now, there's an equal level of playing field. Seniors have knowledge and they have history, but they don't have experience with tooling. So experience with tooling is where you as a junior can be equal. Interviews are evolving. No longer will you show your coding skills. You will be more responsible for thinking of a system and designing and orchestrating a system. Don't wait. So there is no reason for you to wait until you have a portfolio to start applying. Already in applications, you can show what you're building. Act like you have the job and you're asking for information to do your job. You will come across as someone that genuinely cares and that looks incredibly eager and motivated to do this. What I want to see in an interview when you execute is we are back with another Q&A episode. I have never received this many questions, so there might be another episode next week, actually, depending on how this goes. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. For the first one, as an engineering manager, an interesting subject is how a brilliant jerk can affect individuals, the team, or the whole organization. Do you think they have a space in an organization? Do you believe they can be changed or need to change? I don't even know if I've ever worked with a brilliant jerk. For people that don't know the term, a brilliant jerk is someone that is extremely capable, but likely emotionally something is missing, where their behavior towards others is too short, maybe arrogant, maybe rude, maybe they don't have any patience for any other people. I really don't like people that don't have patience, because I feel like if we level up as a team and also as a department within an organization, there needs to be patience for people that don't understand. I don't think I've ever been involved with people or worked with people to such a degree that I would label them a brilliant jerk. But I'm also not a person that labels. I hate when people put labels on me or on other people. In essence, there are big companies that completely try and avoid hiring brilliant jerks. Netflix, I think, is one of the early companies that coined the term and that also outlined that they will not hire people that are in that way. People that show toxic behavior towards others when it is about collaboration, effectiveness, and execution cannot hold. It will tear down your team culture and sometimes even your organizational culture if it sustains for a long time. If people don't want to work with one specific individual and you cannot get them out of the organization, then you have a problem on your hand. And I've never found myself in a position like that. However, I am of the opinion that through a lot of guidance and through a lot of patience, at least from my side compared to, or if I were to have a conversation with someone labeled as such, I would be able to steer their behavior. Maybe it's a little bit of optimism and hope that I have, but genuinely, my assumption is that people are not aware of the effects of their behavior. If they are aware and they essentially don't care, then they must be so confident in their skill set and their position within the organization that they genuinely don't care. So either it's nothing is going to change or there's the door if it reaches that point. Because of my optimism and because of my hope, I think that behavior can be steered and people don't just stay brilliant jerks, but they in the end become brilliant. And I love working with brilliant people. So in short, would I hire them? Likely no. Would I work with them if they're already in the organization? Absolutely. I would do my best to make sure the behavior changes. And I do feel like I could learn a lot from brilliant people. I love working with brilliant people if they have the patience to also share their brilliance. All right, with tools like Cursor, Copilot, Claude Code becoming normal in some teams, how should juniors balance using AI to ship faster versus making sure we actually build deep skills? Does heavy AI use ever backfire when it comes to interviews or long-term growth? First question. What should juniors do with the tooling that is available out there right now? My answer is use the tooling, leverage them, and excel. Because right now there's an equal level of playing field. Seniors have knowledge and they have history, but they don't have experience with tooling. So experience with tooling is where you as a junior can be equal. If you can teach how to use and how to leverage tooling compared to a senior or educate a senior on the usage based on your own experience, then that is extremely valuable. I feel like these toolings are evolving. I feel like these tools are evolving, but they are here to stay. I've been a big fan of Claude Code. Open Code, I haven't tried out yet. Cursor, I've seen many awesome things, and I know people that are extremely excited about look and feel, speed, and effectiveness of the tooling. I feel like the tools are going to evolve and some principles will stay. So use that to your leverage if you are a junior. The funny thing is you can also leverage the tooling to excel in your own learning path and in your own learning career, your own journey. So definitely do so. Now, what information actually retains? In the end, there's studies, there's hearsay, there's experience. If for you, you find a way to actually get up and running and you remember based on what the tool is in output or what it teaches you, then that's fantastic. That means you can excel your learning like no other. If information doesn't retain or genuinely is not interesting to you, then it might have to do with the type of engineer you are. And if the tooling was not available, then likely the same information would still not retain. Some information is going to be interesting. Some you will have an innate curiosity towards. It could be a various technical topic. But in essence, you're not going to be as interested in all topics. For me specifically, I get really excited about what we have and what we need to do in business outcomes specifically. And then what technology is there that I can leverage. I will research because I have fuel, basically. My outcomes are my fuels for research. If I don't have any outcomes, if I'm not working towards a goal or a purpose, my fuel does not come from exploration. I like certain aspects, certain tooling. I have interests, but leveraging that for every single tool that is needed for an outcome, it doesn't come naturally to me. I can do it with discipline, but my discipline has its limits. So if I'm genuinely curious and I have this magical answer box like Claude Code sometimes is, I can go back and forth on a lot of things and I'm learning a lot of things quite fast and I'm genuinely enjoying it. So as a junior, my recommendation would be definitely do so. There was a second part specifically about interviews. And in my opinion, interviews are evolving. No longer will you show your coding skills, is my assumption. You will be more responsible for thinking of a system and designing and orchestrating a system. So my assumption is that interviews will be moving towards that. And what I want to see in an interview when you execute is twofold. It could be that in an assignment, you're going to get an existing code base and you will either have to build on top of it or change something or modernize something. I want to see you interact with your AI tooling and I want to see you explore in parallel different aspects. So you can either use tooling in different windows and do different parts of exploration. I want to see how you disperse and then come back with condensed information, how you communicate that to the interviewer, how you learn and then therefore in the end execute, or you work in parallel with your AI tooling. So you do a few threads with regards to research and exploration for your code base, and then you do it yourself manually. For me, the people that are really good engineers will be able to familiarize themselves in unknown code bases quicker than people that are less senior. And this is what I want to see typically in an interview, how you explore and then in the end, use what you found to execute for the task at hand. Does it ever backfire? In the end, things are evolving. So in the wrong organizations, wrong for you. If you like AI tooling and an organization is not allowing that right now, then yes, it will backfire if you interview at the company that is not a right fit for you. In any type of startup where they are leveraging anything they can for speed, and you are a person that loves using AI tooling, are very well equipped to do so also in practice and in production, then it will definitely not backfire for you. Now, there were a lot of questions actually in this, and I've combined a lot of the questions in my answer already. One of the parts that are still kind of unknown is how do you continuously learn and educate yourself with AI tooling that is available? And in essence, how you learn is still up to you. You know what works best for your information retention. So whether that's watching a YouTube video and taking notes, or that's reading a research paper, or going through books and taking notes, or doing voice memos, or listening to audiobooks and podcasts, you know what works best for you, both from a preference perspective as well as how you retain the most information. That has not changed. We now have another option, which is basically going and having a dialogue with a ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI tooling, Gemini, that is now available. And that is another option. You will know or experience how much information you retain from those types of conversations. And in the end, how much of that is applicable for the task at hand, you will have to learn and experience. I cannot tell you how you are going to retain the most information. For me, I don't even know sometimes how I do it. I am experimenting with different methods. I'm doing Zettelkasten from something Lumen. I don't know what his first name is. It might be Nicholas, because lots of Nicholases. But I think Lumen and Zettelkasten will, in a Google search or a AI search nowadays, will teach you about that method and methodology. And I'm kind of cheating because I have really good memory. Some stuff just sticks with me. And I think it comes from genuine curiosity. So learn and educate, but learning and educating yourself continuously and doing that in a condensed matter is going to be more and more important. So if you found a framework, or if you find a certain methodology that works for you and that can compound also towards the future, that is going to pay dividends. So invest in that. From your experience, what really differentiates a good developer from a great one in real world teams? The great versus good, I feel like I've done episodes on, and I've covered in Q&As as well. So I think last Q&A went more into depth with a question like that. And I typically take the really good developers are able to execute, and I feel like that's more on a smaller scale. I've recently joined an organization which is a bigger scale, and that's going to be a new experience for me. What I see really good engineers, and they also get attributed the staff role, functional title, so they are staff software engineers, is that they are really good in flying into teams, exploring things and orchestrating things, or even learning about their code bases in a rapid manner. And they can do that across teams. And typically those people are responsible for driving initiatives that spans multiple teams, which is really cool. Because if your organization is at a scale where it has different teams that are distributed and working together on initiatives, and some teams or a few teams together need to execute and achieve outcomes before one overarching outcome is then achieved, or even a feature in that matter. If multiple teams need to deliver before one single feature, a big feature, is orchestrated, the people that are then responsible, because it could be high risk, high reward, are the staff engineers, the people that are really good at seeing the bigger picture, that can go dive deep when it comes to a specific team, and that can definitely maintain overview across multiple teams. So the skills that are involved in there, systems thinking, figuring out quickly what type of architecture patterns a certain code base has, where it runs, what it does, and how it relates to other teams, those are all skills involved in there. So yeah, lots to learn, always. What is one mistake mid-level developers commonly make that slows down their growth, and how can they avoid it? This is maybe not necessarily a mistake, but it is something that they don't act upon. When you're in a session, for example, and you disagree with someone, or you genuinely have a question, but you don't want to ask it because you feel like it might make you seem stupid, doesn't matter what the context is. You might be in a conversation with a lot of seniors, or with your CTO, or somehow miraculously also your CEO. You will have thoughts, you will have questions, and you might seem intimidated by the room, or by the setting, or by the people you are working with. If that withholds you from asking those questions, that is holding you back. I don't see a situation in which a question will be seen as bad, but that is also due to my experience and my history. So take that with a grain of salt. I feel like there should be room for you to ask questions. Obviously, you should be paying attention. You should have done your homework, and you should know kind of what the intention of the meeting is. But if you have a suggestion, if you have a perspective, if you have feedback, the only way for you to learn and grow and see if that's the right time and the right place is to experience. And if you do not experience, that then automatically withholds you from growing. Because conversations like that, there might be a single instance, and there might be similar instances, but they are only similar. And if you have many conversations that are similar, you will get better. But you will never have exactly your same context again. So you can only experience certain conversations once with specific people in certain settings at a time and in a place. So ask those questions, learn, grow, specifically after a session like that where you are unsure how you came across. Ask for feedback with people that you trust. And even if it is with people that you don't have a relationship with, it can create those relationships with you. If you are saying, I'm working on my personal development. I want to grow as fast as possible. I was not sure how I came across in this setting. I felt some pressure due to the people that were there. And I genuinely want your feedback on some of the questions that I asked, some of my behaviors, how I presented, how I explained this part of the code base. Can you please help me with that? If you have the right people in the right environment, and my assumption, again, I'm quite hopeful and I'm quite positive, is that most of the environments that you'll find yourself will be that, then people are there and are able and will help you. And through doing so, you might build a relationship with them as well, more for the long term. Salary negotiations for juniors. In your opinion, what is the best way for the applicant to reply when asked what their salary expectations are? And how would you recommend juniors to prepare themselves for such questions? Honestly, this junior thing, you can just disregard, because salary conversations are challenging, difficult, depending on how often you do them. And unless you switch jobs quite often, this is not something you're going to get good at through experience. So I do agree, the more you inform yourself, the better you will be equipped at such conversations. But they will not happen continuously unless you job hop quite often. So people that are freelancers and that do consulting assignments for like a year or even shorter than a year, sure, you will have way better experience in having those conversations, because you're going to talk about your hourly rate. It's not even about salary. I mean, yes, it's like a salary, but still, you will be better equipped. But for the majority of you, the better you do your homework, the better you will have that conversation. If you know people in your position with your same function title already operating at that company in your country, with regards to salary, what they earn, or with regards to total compensation package, you can use that and leverage that in a conversation. In the end, you need to have a target number. You will say, this is what I expect I'll be worth in the end. And that number needs to come from somewhere. So anywhere on the internet, anywhere from ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, anywhere from having conversations with real people. And that third one, it might surprise you how often people are open and willing to share about their experience on the job. If you send a message to someone that already has your function title within that company, could be within your team, could be outside of your team, and say, hey, I'm interviewing for this position and I would love to learn about what you do on a day-to-day, what gives you energy at this company, why you genuinely enjoy working together with this group of people. I will be in this department. People are typically like, yeah, why not? Let me talk to this person. Let me help someone out. It gives both you an opportunity to learn and them the opportunity to help someone, and it likely will make them feel better in doing so. And if you, through that conversation, build up a relationship with someone and say, hey, I'm not great at salary negotiations. I'm genuinely not looking forward to this. I have no clue what kind of range is typically given at your company for this position. Can you help me with a range? You don't have to ask, what are you earning? Because that's very direct, and people sometimes are not comfortable in that, depending on the context and the culture. But if you say, hey, can you help me with a range so I'm better equipped in actually having that conversation, people will give you a range. I'm sure of that. So then you have a range. In essence, if you fall significantly below that range in an offer that you receive, yeah, this is where the negotiation starts. I already don't like it, and I've not done it many times. Let me preface that. But for example, in my own experience, I landed a job and I had a range in my head. I had a minimum. And let's say that was at the time 50K. I got below 50K. And I said, well, due to my experiences that I bring on the table, I've done X, Y, and Z. And at the job, I'm expected to do A, B, and C. I feel like I'm a really good fit. And I feel like the offer that I received is not fair compared to what I think I bring to the table, compared to my worth. Something along those lines. And you can definitely formulate that better than me off the top of my head. But in essence, I replied like that. I said, this is what I think I'm worth. And that was my minimum at the time, because also I really wanted to join at this company. And in the end, I didn't get it. I had zero wiggle room. Apparently, the salary that I got was the salary I got, because my manager at the time said, if I were to write down all the salaries of every single person at the team on a whiteboard, I want everyone to say, okay, this is fair. And in essence, I had no reason to mistrust my manager. And in that reasoning, I could not ask for more, because in the end, I also wanted to be fair for the people that I'm going to be working with. I really liked the team I was going to be joining. So I did not want to screw up this position or this offer. Now that thought typically if I reply in a similar way, can I mess up my offer? Unless you are a dickhead, an asshole, and expecting the moon, I don't think typically you can mess up your offer. It definitely happens. There's always edge cases, but in essence, it should not be that much off your expectations versus your offer. Expectations are something you can manage from the first conversation you have with a recruiter, with your hiring manager, or with your actual manager. Continuously, it's something you can manage. So it should not be that far off. But still, you might get an offer, and I feel like you should always negotiate because there's not much. Sure, there's a very slight chance. In essence, I don't think there's anything to lose. So I asked for 50K. I did not get 50K. The next step, I was like, well, I still genuinely believe I am worth 50K. 50K is not the number, by the way, just saying. I'm just randomly saying a number. Can we have this conversation again in 2 months? That's what I asked. That is genuinely what I asked. Because I was young, I was eager, I wanted to do it as fast as possible. 2 months, I thought was fair. My manager said, well, 2 months is very, very quick. So let's have this conversation again in 6 months. I went from having not what I wanted and nothing else to not what I wanted, but at least a dot on the horizon. In 6 months, we were going to have this conversation again. And in essence, in outcome, I took the position. I was very happy. I grew quite quickly. And 6 months later, I told my manager we were going to have this conversation. He was like, yep, that's true. Let me see what I can do. And he did not plan in the conversation. I mean, we were still having our regular check-ins, our regular catch-ups, but there was no specific conversation about salary because what he did was he went and he talked to the salary people. And then 1 week later, he said, okay, your salary has been upped. And it was up to what I asked, my 50K. So I was happy. 6 months later, a regular salary process happened and I got above and beyond what I expected. So I was the only person that year that got 2 raises because in my company at the time, we only had annual raises. But because I negotiated, I got a mid-year raise and then I also got an end-of-year raise. And I got more than what I asked for in 1 year. I was quite happy with that. I think I grew that year around 16% in salary, which is quite a lot. And none of my team members got that. But also I had put in the effort and I had shown results. So my manager felt confident to do so. Negotiation-wise, I'm not the best. But I feel like there is always something. There is always a conversation to be had. And if you cannot get something in the moment, ask for the future. Ask for your growth path, your career path. When can we have a conversation again? Because this is genuinely my feeling. In reality, it could have also been that I was completely overwhelmed. And if my team members were significantly better, which I genuinely feel like they were, I would not have asked, I would not have pushed because I felt good with what I had and I trusted my manager to do justice to that. But he acted accordingly. So I'm actually quite happy with this experience. So yeah, long answer short, always negotiate, do it to the best you can, prepare, get your numbers, and just have a conversation, experience, and there is not much that can go wrong. What questions in an interview would you like to hear from an applicant if you were the one that interviews them? Or rather, what questions could an applicant make that makes them stand out from other people within the interview process? This is a fun one because when I interview, it's typically the questions that I ask that, and this is quite an assumption, but hopefully that makes me stand out. I don't interview for jobs often, but because I'm a consultant, I am in kind of similar interview positions, basically. People get my resume, then they have a conversation with me, and it helps that I have a podcast that they can already see how I behave in Q&As like this, for example, or how my thought reasoning works. But in essence, I definitely take the opportunity to ask questions. First of all, I check in with them with regards to time. Do you really have an exit, or am I going to have a little bit wiggle room depending on the amount of questions that I have? If people ask you, do you have any questions? The answer should always be yes. And you should have done your homework. You should have either a list of questions already pre-prepared, or based on the conversation that happens, if you're a good listener, you should practice writing down questions based on what people say. The better the questions are aligned with the conversation that we had, the better me as an interviewer will see you as someone that is a good listener. And I want people that are good listeners. Good listeners are people that are able to congest information, digest it, condense it, and then ask follow-up questions for them to be able to better understand it. People that are not curious in a conversation, will have a harder time with that. And I like people that are curious, because curiosity can be a big fire, a big flame in fuel. I don't think that's the saying, but it can be a big motivator, a big driver. So that's what I look for. Then next to that, what I like to do is go more personal. If these are people genuinely that you're going to be working with, then the interviewer is also thinking, is this a person that I can actually see myself working with? And the best way to build a relationship quite quickly is to make people think, introspect, and share something either they are proud of, either they are what they learned, or something about their history and experience. So what is the most fun thing you've done since joining this company? Or how did you grow from the position you had before to the one you have now? And what are some of the challenges? Do you actually enjoy it, or do you miss the hands-on part? What do you look for with regards to people in an interview process like this? And do you feel like I showed that, or what is something that I can do better in interview processes or in conversations like this? My brain is kind of all over the place, but everything with regards to the interviewer's experience or immediately asking for feedback for growth, I feel like is a good approach, genuinely. And then thirdly, if you're a good listener, what I mentioned earlier, look for specific hooks, for follow-up questions, for depth. I right now have a position, and I feel like a big part of in me getting that position was already asking questions that I would ask if I got the position. It's maybe a bit vague, but if you are responsible for a certain thing and building out a certain thing, when you join, you will need information. So throughout the interview process, you can ask every single question on the information that you will need to execute and to excel at what you do already throughout the interview process. Act like you have the job and you're asking for information to do your job. As much as people can, they will share things with you. And I feel like it comes across as someone, you will come across as someone that genuinely cares and that looks incredibly eager and motivated to do this because you're already starting. So maybe my main takeaway, don't start immediately, start asking your questions. Yeah, as if you already have the job. That last sentence is important, I guess. When you're job hunting early in your career, what actually moves the needle? Side projects, open source, certificate courses, or something else entirely? If you were to start out today, how would you prioritize your time outside of work? This is a hard one because my default behavior, my answer is, I feel like projects show results. I'm not just looking for someone that thinks of projects. I want someone that has shown what they can do and that I can actually look at. But I am not a recruiter. So you getting the foot in the door, you're not going to talk to me initially. Typically, you can reach out to me if you're interested in a job and I can refer you, but you will talk to the recruiter. And I don't know what recruiters typically look at. It might not be your projects, right? It could be your resume. So experience also matters. If you've done internships, if you're early in career, or if you have been in companies that are in similar domains or similar in size, that already helps. If you are even located, I know people that are hiring and they are specifically located in a place in Amsterdam and they are looking for people that also live in Amsterdam. And already through that, you might think, man, that's a bit harsh. But the amount of applicants they get, the hiring manager basically said, yeah, if someone doesn't live in Amsterdam, I don't want to talk to them. And you can have an opinion on that, but this is someone's choice. So there are a lot of variables that you can tweak, and there are innumerous variables that you cannot tweak. Something can also just change in the organization, and no one will ever know, but they will just scrap a position. The way you can distinguish yourself is by building up relationships with the people and with the company that you're already hiring, that is actually hiring. So sending a message out on LinkedIn. I feel like I've done a whole episode on how to get a job remote or abroad, working remotely or coming from abroad. And that goes a lot into detail with regards to getting your foot in the door. Now, I still believe strongly that projects are a differentiating factor next to experience. But if you don't have experience, then showing results in projects, I feel like is the way to go. Nowadays, coding is cheap because tooling does a lot of the job. But building software, in the end, we are engineers. We are not coders. So showing software that runs in production with certain operational aspects and also in a good development pipeline with regards to continuous feature development shows results. It shows you've thought end to end and not just within specific development. And the more people think both in depth and in width, it's maybe a lot to ask, but it's really to distinguish yourself, the better you will come out when it comes to the general population. So yeah, build out those side projects. I started this answer with kind of feeling torn because I don't have many side projects. They're not all on GitHub. My GitHub looks awful, to be honest. A lot of it's just running locally. But yeah, in essence, I feel like if I were to apply, I would definitely have to work on that part of it. I feel like I have the networking down. I have a lot of relationships down. But when it actually comes to projects, I don't have much. And for people that don't have much, the more you have, the better it is because it distinguishes you. In my circumstance, 50-hour work week, newborn at home, no prior tech experience. Do you think focusing on completing a high-quality portfolio before starting to apply is the right approach? Or should I balance job applications alongside portfolio building, even with limited time? You're busy. And the fact that you are re-educating yourself to go to a different career is incredibly admirable. I would say don't wait. So there is no reason for you to wait until you have a portfolio to start applying. Already in applications, you can show what you're building, specifically in the portfolio that you're building. So yeah, no newborn on my end, and I cannot compare directly with you. My only fear is don't burn yourself out. It's a lot of work. Maintaining a job, being responsible as a father, you probably have other responsibilities. Maybe you own a house. I don't have any of that. So I have a lot of time, I have a lot of free time to apply to work, to apply to passions that I have. I'm building a company, I'm doing a podcast, I want to do another YouTube channel. I have a full-time job. I'm in the Works Council. In my job, I do different things. I do trainings as well, consultancy, always fun. I was a team lead. I could not do that anymore because it was too draining. So at some point you have to cut things. I have a girlfriend, a partner who I wish I could spend more time with, friends and family, some friends I haven't spoken to. I'm horrible at keeping connections and relationships. So already I feel like time is tight. And for you, it must be amplified due to some of the responsibilities you have. So good luck with whatever you're doing. I think it's very ambitious and amicable. And I wish you all the best, man. In your opinion, which 5 job platforms or resources are the most trustworthy and effective for finding real tech roles in today's market? 5 job platforms. I think if I did my best and someone asked me, can you name 3? I think I would only stop at LinkedIn, to be honest, as a job platform. So LinkedIn, first and foremost, both by building relationships with people and keeping touch with companies that have new positions. I don't know if LinkedIn is as up to date as the company profile pages themselves, the company website pages, company career pages. So that might be potentially a second, but yeah, doesn't really scale as well. What I would say is go to Meetups, specifically organized by the companies you want to work for or in a specific domain. There is now a new meetup in Amsterdam. It's called AI in Amsterdam. They have had a conference and I think a few sessions both earlier in career, which I didn't go to, but also organized by a lot of AI tooling and companies. So I went to the one from ChatGPT, from OpenAI, I should say, and the one from Google, specifically about Gemini. And there's going to be another one from Anthropic. I'm going to go to that one as well. I haven't checked the agenda, but hopefully soon, somewhere in February. You will find people that are like-minded with regards to a certain topic, specifically where the meetup is about, and you will build relationships. And they could be people that are already working at a company. Maybe you have an idea you want to pitch to people. You can practice your pitching and you can build up a relationship with regards to that. Some people come there and they have startups they're building. So they are looking for people to collaborate with or to work together with. There is no equity, there is no revenue. But the fact that you are already building and creating something can be extremely valuable, or it shows that you have ambition and drive and are also acting upon that. So there can be a lot of benefits to going to meetups, but a lot of responsibility is on you because you have to go and you have to network. And the only way to get good at networking is to actually do the networking. Talk to people, say, hey, my name is Patrick. How long have you been living in Amsterdam? Oh, I'm Dutch. No, you wouldn't think of that because that's typically how it goes. Did you like the talk? Have you had fun so far? Have you gone to any previous meetups? Have a conversation with people, genuinely. You will get better at doing that the more you do it. And whatever outcome comes out of that, I cannot guarantee you can get a job, but it might help. So why not do it? If you're a front-end developer, how good is it going to be to keep up with the backend? Are we going to lose with regards to knowledge in a specific stack? My experience has been I was quite comfortable on the backend. I did a little bit of front-end in my first software engineering job. And then when I joined Xebia, my manager asked me, we have a lot of front-end projects. Do you want to learn more about the front-end? And my perspective at the time is more knowledge is better. So I said yes. I said to a lot of yes. I said almost yes to everything. Do you want to learn about it? Yes. Because I had no clue what I wanted to do. So the more I learn if I like it, if I enjoy it, what aspects do I enjoy and what do I not like in the end. Front-end is quite specific coming from back-end, but I can see that the inverse could also be the same. If you start in the front-end, there can be some abstract things on the back-end that are interesting to you maybe, or even if not, I do feel like general knowledge is going to be valuable. So if you're specific with regards to front-end, at least know some of the basics on the back-end. API design or interactions with databases or where business logic lives or how to architect. What does good back-end architecture look like? Know it from a surface level, enough to have conversations with back-end if then those responsibilities are really separated, and let curiosity drive you. In the end, if you genuinely enjoy it, you can do both. People do both and they are very effective. And nowadays with AI tooling, I feel like you can be more and more responsible for a lot of aspects because you're enabled due to the tooling that you have nowadays more so than ever. So I don't think it can hurt. Don't shy away from it if you genuinely say, I've never done it, but I don't want to do it. That makes no sense. If you say, I've done it and I genuinely enjoy the front end more because of X, Y, and Z, that is so much more powerful than you never having tried. So do it. Is it going to take away from focus and context? Yes. You can also say, I am focusing on these aspects on the front end before I'm going to educate myself on the back end. Also fine. Have a plan, but definitely experience. How many certifications should a serious IT professional aim to earn in a year? How important is it to get certified in today's IT industry? Have I ever had a certification? Maybe a few. Not more than I can count on one hand, to be honest. So with that, my perspective is I don't think it is as important. Even to the point where I feel like general education, your university degree, might not matter as much. We are more moving towards a skills-based economy. So whatever you have built that shows your skill, how well you are equipped in how you communicate it and show results is going to matter more than a piece of paper that is a certificate. That is my opinion. Not everyone is going to agree. So for some people, the fact that you have educated yourself and that you have the width that in outcome gives you this certificate, they also hold value to that. I'm not saying it has zero value. I'm saying I feel like other things are more valuable. As people build more, what you build specifically and how you build it and how you communicate what you've built and why have you built this thing is going to be more valuable than I haven't built anything, but I have these certificates that show that I can build. But why haven't you built is something I would ask. And if you don't have a good answer for that, if it was I was working on getting these certificates, then you haven't shown me anything. You have shown me you are good at getting certificates. But my job is not to do that. My job is to build. My job is to execute. My job is to have business outcomes due to what I do. So that's what I want to see. And that's what I think is the most valuable. Do you recommend soft skills trainings, or is it all about experience when it comes to getting better at soft skills? I get a training budget every single year. And the mantra in this company is you finish your training budget every single year. It is a significant amount of money. And you are a responsible adult and you can spend it in whatever way you want. Do you want to go to a conference? You book the conference, you reimburse it. Or you ask office management to book it for you so you don't have to reimburse it. Do you want to go to a conference abroad? You arrange the hotel, the flight, and the conference, and all the food you have there, you can reimburse and it goes off of your education budget. Do you want to follow a training? Doesn't matter what training it is. You can do so and you can reimburse. So that's the context that I'm in. I've been at this company for 7 years, which means 7 times that significant amount is the money that I've spent in both trainings, conferences, flights, food, online courses, you name it. I've tried it. There are specific trainings that will always stick with me, that I feel like even though the information that I've gained is somewhere anchored in my brain and it's hard to regurgitate exactly what I learned, the experiences of those trainings, both my teacher as well as the participants, they have stuck with me. And their experiences have stuck with me. And specifically what I learned, there are certain aspects that I'm like, this is something that I can still communicate to you, something that I've learned and something that I am aware of and that I can educate others with, my peers or the people that I mentor. So I feel like there are valuable soft skills related trainings. Yes. A lot of experience might even be more valuable. It is just easier to gain. You cannot do a training every single week in a calendar year. It just does not happen. So the more you can experience on the job with difficult conversations that you have with a peer or with a brilliant jerk or with your manager or in a conversation in a group of seniors or by presenting a pitch that you have or an idea or a proposal or something to a large audience is going to be of value to you. So do both. Figure out what trainings have your interest, ask around, ask for guidance, ask specifically to people, what trainings would you recommend? What has always stuck with you? Where have you had the most value when it comes to a specific training? Do that and experience on the job. That's how you get better at soft skills. Now, I've talked a lot actually, and I still have about 20 questions left, I feel like. So I'm going to park this. This was today's episode. Tune back in next week because we're going to do another Q&A. See you then.